Seems we live in an age where people take extreme positions about a variety of issues, whether it be climate change, abortion, um, inflation, the Democrat Republican dichotomy. People, in my view, have become extremely intense and sometimes aggressive in their position. I spoke with a woman today who I dearly love, whose older sister has become increasingly hostile and aggressive about the political sphere and has very strong, powerful opinions about people in powerful positions, notably current and past presidents. I think it's remarkable how polarized our society has become, and I think a lot of it is thanks due to social media, um, the polarization of news sources, and the difficulty that people have holding on to two opposing ideas at the same time. It's tough to think that Donald Trump, for example, could be awful and awesome in some ways, both at the same time. I do think that it's tempting for all of us to vilify those that think differently about things than we do, and to position ourselves to think that we could, by articulating our position strongly enough, influence someone else. Well, as we know from experience, that often the more we push on someone, the more they push back. There's a saying that says there's one thing that you cannot change, and it's a mind that is made up. We all have something called confirmation bias, and it's simply a term for the tendency that we all have to look for data that reinforces our view, our position. We do it in our marriages, we sometimes do it with our kids, we do it in relationship to our belief about God or politics. We all tend to see what we want to see and hear what we want to hear. What I found is that if someone approaches me with a desire to push me to take a stand about a particular belief or situation. Recently, I was asked about my position about Calvinism and Arminianism. But typically, I try to understand where the person is coming from first. Because if it's very clear that their mind is made up, that they have a strongly held position, and they articulate it in a very intense way, if I see the logic of their position, I might say that makes sense to me, or I might say, well, I see it a little differently, but I agree with a lot of what you said. But I might simply say, well, it's clear to me that you and I see this thing very differently. If the person then says, well, what do you mean? What do you think? I'm likely to ask a question, and that is, will it matter? Because if the person has their mind made up, then it probably won't matter for me to articulate an alternate view. They've probably heard it. And especially if it's someone who I've been in discussion with before, I can say to them, hey, I believe that we both understand each other's position to a limited degree, but it seems unlikely that either of us is going to change our position. I might ask, is there anything that you haven't said that I should hear from you? Because I think I've said what I need to say to share my perspective. It's okay for me if we have different views. What is not okay for me is if either of us entertain disgust or disdain or enter into judgment about the other person because of their closely held belief. Now, I'm not in the majority with this. I think a lot of people want to be right, want to feel that they have figured it out. And I'm of the opinion that most of the time there is room for uncertainty about various issues. If there weren't, then there wouldn't be two opposing views. So I'm going to challenge you and encourage you to hold dearly the things that you believe and the way you think about things, but be open to the possibility that your view is one of at least a couple and sometimes several that could be reasonably taken about a given issue, and be willing to hear from another person their point of view. Do not feel compelled to agree with them, however, because that could be an abandonment of your own stance or position. At the same time, you do not need to fight with someone or engage in heated and hostile debate. You can let them have their position and hold on to your own. At the end of the day, it is peaceful discourse that is most likely to sway the position of another person. Being able to simply and humbly say, here's what it looks like to me. Here's how I feel about it. Here's what I think about it. And here's where I come down on this particular issue. God bless you as you engage with people. And according to the word of Scripture, as far as possible, be at peace with everyone. As far as it depends on you, try to live in harmony. Obviously, it doesn't always all depend on you. You have to recognize that some people will want to fight even if you don't have your dukes up. Hope all goes well in your world today, and that you will find peace in the midst of conflict. I love you.